Goldilocks and the Enchanted Forest. Once upon a time, in a village wrapped in silver morning mist, there lived a curious little girl named Goldilocks. Her golden curls shimmered like sunlight, and her heart beat with a sense of adventure that could not be tamed. Though her mother often warned her not to wander far, the woods always seemed to call her name with voices only she could hear. One bright spring morning, as birds sang lullabies to the rising sun, Goldilocks followed a soft breeze that whispered through the window of her cottage. It carried the scent of honey and roses, and a sound so delicate it felt like music, bells maybe, or laughter. Drawn by the mystery, she tiptoed past the garden, through the meadow where blue butterflies danced, and toward the edge of the forest. The trees, tall and ancient, seemed to bow in her presence, their branches swaying gently as if greeting her arrival. She paused at the border of the woods. No one from her village dared to step beyond it, for the forest was said to be enchanted, a place where time forgot the rules and animals could speak. But Goldilocks, feeling no fear, only wonder, took one small step beneath the emerald canopy. What she didn't know was that the moment her foot touched the mossy ground, something old and magical stirred deep within the forest. As Goldilocks ventured deeper, the light began to change. Sunbeams filtered through the leaves, painting golden patterns on the forest floor. Every step echoed with crunches of leaves and whispers of wind. Though the path twisted and disappeared in places, it always seemed to reappear, almost as if it was guiding her. Suddenly, a squirrel with shimmering fur darted across her path. It paused, stood on its hind legs, and stared at her with clever eyes. "Looking for something, young one?" the squirrel asked, its voice soft and polite. Goldilocks gasped, but didn't run. "Did you just talk?" "Of course I did," the squirrel replied. "You're in the enchanted forest now. Everything has a voice, especially today." "Why today?" she asked, wide-eyed. "Because today, the forest chooses," the squirrel said with a grin, before vanishing into the trees. She walked further, passing mushrooms that glowed faintly and trees with trunks carved in ancient patterns. Suddenly the ground beneath her shifted, revealing a secret path lined with silver stones and glowing flowers. As she stepped onto the new path, the wind returned, no longer just a breeze, but a voice. "Follow the petals, golden child. They will take you where you need to go." And so, Goldilocks did. Following the glowing petals, Goldilocks reached a clearing where sunlight poured down like liquid gold. In the center stood a quaint little cottage, its roof covered in moss and its windows framed with ivy. Smoke curled from the chimney, and the scent of warm porridge drifted through the air. Though it looked peaceful, something about the cottage felt different. The door, carved with symbols of stars and moons, slowly creaked open on its own. Goldilocks stepped inside, whispering, "Hello?" No answer. The inside was cozy but strange. 3 chairs sat in a circle around a low table, one large and wooden, another medium and velvet-covered, and the last tiny with flower carvings. Each chair faced a bowl of porridge, still steaming. Hungry from her journey, she tried the big bowl. It was too salty. The medium bowl was too cold, but the smallest one tasted just right, sweet, warm, and full of spices she'd never had before. After eating, her legs grew tired. She noticed 3 beds near the fireplace. The first was as stiff as stone, the second too squishy, but the third felt like a cloud wrapped in moonlight. As she drifted into sleep, something strange happened. The symbols on the door began to glow, and outside, the forest grew still. What Goldilocks didn't know was that this was no ordinary home. It belonged to guardians of the forest, and they were about to return. Just as the final ray of sun dipped below the treetops, the forest stirred again. Leaves rustled, branches swayed, and from the heart of the woods came the gentle sound of paws padding across the mossy ground. Through the trees emerged 3 magnificent bears, unlike any creatures Goldilocks had ever imagined. They were not ordinary animals, but guardians of the forest, protectors of ancient magic. Each one shimmered faintly with a different light, one gold, one silver, and one pale blue. The largest bear, with fur the color of autumn fire, spoke first. "Someone has been in our home." The middle-sized bear, covered in silver-gray fur, sniffed the air. "Someone has tasted our porridge." And the smallest, a young cub with glowing blue eyes, padded into the cottage and called, "Someone is in my bed." Goldilocks, still asleep, didn't hear them enter. The bears stepped into the cottage carefully. The air was warm and filled with the scent of herbs and honey. They moved quietly until the youngest bear found her curled up in his bed, dreaming peacefully. "She's just a child," the cub whispered. "She doesn't seem dangerous." The golden-furred guardian narrowed his eyes. "But the forest chose her. That means something." The silver one nodded. "We must let her wake. She deserves to hear the truth." And so, with one soft growl that rumbled through the walls, they waited for her eyes to open. Goldilocks slowly opened her eyes to find 3 majestic bears standing beside the bed. Her heart raced, but the calm glow in their eyes told her she wasn't in danger. I'm sorry," she stammered, sitting up. "I didn't mean to come in. The door was open, and The golden bear raised a gentle paw. "You are not in trouble, child. You were brought here for a reason." She blinked. "I was? But I just followed the path." "The forest led you," said the silver bear. "And it never does that by accident." The small cub stepped closer. "You entered a home protected by old magic. Only someone with a true heart could have passed through the barrier." Goldilocks looked around. "So, this house is enchanted?" "Much more than that," the golden bear replied. "This is the Heart Cottage. It appears only to those chosen by the forest to protect its magic." Goldilocks tilted her head. "Me? But I'm just a girl." "Even the smallest soul can hold great power," said the silver bear. "The balance of the forest is shifting. Something dark is awakening. We believe you might be the key to restoring harmony." The youngest bear looked at her with quiet hope. "Will you help us?" Goldilocks hesitated, her heart pounding. She had only come to explore, but now the future of the forest might depend on her answer. And though she didn't yet understand how, she felt it deep inside. This was just the beginning. Goldilocks sat near the glowing fireplace as the golden bear began to speak. His voice was deep, yet full of warmth. "Long ago, this forest thrived under the light of the Everstar, a magical crystal hidden in its deepest roots. It kept everything in balance. Flowers bloomed in every season, rivers never ran dry, and creatures lived in peace." The silver bear continued. "But one day, a shadow crept into the woods. A sorcerer, banished from the mountain realms, found the Everstar. He couldn't destroy it, so he hid it. Without its light, the forest began to fade." The youngest bear pawed at the floor. "Our parents, true guardians, vanished trying to find it. Since then, we've kept the cottage hidden, waiting for a sign." Goldilocks leaned forward. "And you think I'm the sign?" The golden bear nodded. "Only someone pure of heart, brave in spirit, and curious enough to listen to the forest could ever begin the journey." The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows along the walls. Goldilocks felt something stir inside her chest, not fear, but purpose. "Where would I even begin?" she asked. The silver bear rose. "At dawn, the forest will offer you a path. But first, you must receive a gift, a piece of the cottage's magic." He led her to a small cabinet carved with vines. Inside was a tiny pouch filled with glowing dust, a silver compass, and a ribbon woven with moonlight threads. "These will guide and protect you. But be warned, the forest changes when the quest begins." Goldilocks took the pouch in trembling hands, unaware that her footsteps would soon awaken forgotten magic and something else, something watching. At the break of dawn, the cottage doors opened on their own. Goldilocks stood at the threshold, clutching the magical pouch, the silver compass resting against her chest, and the moonlight ribbon tied around her wrist. Behind her, the 3 bears watched in silence. The forest no longer looked gentle. Fog curled between the trees, and shadows moved just out of sight. Still, the compass glowed softly and spun, then pointed toward a narrow trail lined with black feathers. "The path of echoes," murmured the golden bear. "It will test your truth." With a nod, Goldilocks stepped into the mist. The moment her foot touched the path, the air grew colder. Strange whispers drifted through the trees, not words, but memories. She saw flickers of her past. The time she lied to her mother about breaking the window. The moment she stole a pie from the market and blamed the wind. Each step forced her to face a truth she had once ignored. The moonlight ribbon shimmered and pulsed as if encouraging her forward. At a bend in the trail, a voice called out, one that sounded exactly like her own. "You don't belong here. You're just a little girl." She turned and faced a mirror, growing out of the bark of a massive tree. Her reflection stepped out and stood before her, twisted and cold. Goldilocks took a deep breath. I may be small, but I'm not afraid of who I was. I'm choosing who I'll become. With those words, the mirror cracked and shattered. The compass glowed bright and steady. The fog lifted and the path cleared. Behind her, the trail of black feathers turned to golden leaves. She had passed the first trial. After leaving the path of echoes, Goldilocks entered a silent glade where trees stood still as statues. In the center, a massive hollow tree rose into the sky, its trunk split open like a gate. Carvings covered its bark, runes and symbols that pulsed with quiet light. As she stepped closer, the silver compass spun wildly before stopping, pointing straight into the tree. Inside, the air was cool and dark. Hanging lanterns swayed gently, though there was no wind. At the heart of the tree sat a figure cloaked in ivy and moss, its face hidden beneath a mask of carved wood. This was the Keeper of Secrets. "You seek the Everstar," the figure said, in a voice like rustling leaves. "But knowledge comes at a price." Goldilocks stood firm. "I'll pay it, whatever it takes to restore the forest." The keeper extended a gnarled hand and placed it above the moonlight ribbon. "Then listen well." From the base of the hollow tree, golden roots lit up, showing visions in their glow. Goldilocks saw the sorcerer, tall, pale, with a cloak of shadow, stealing the Everstar and hiding it beneath the obsidian lake, guarded by a curse of silence and sleep. "No one has dared approach the lake for years," the keeper warned. "But you carry 3 things that can break its seal: truth in your heart, light in your hands, and courage in your voice." The lanterns flared once, then dimmed. "The sorcerer still watches from beyond the veil. He knows you're coming." Goldilocks clutched the pouch tightly, her breath steady. "Then let him watch. I'm not turning back." As she stepped out of the hollow tree, the forest stirred once more, not with fear, but with hope. The final trial awaited. Guided by the glowing compass, Goldilocks reached the edge of the obsidian lake just as night fell. The water shimmered black as ink, silent as stone, and surrounded by twisted trees whose branches pointed inward like accusing fingers. The moonlight ribbon tightened around her wrist. The pouch in her hand began to glow faintly. Stepping closer to the lake, she saw a circle of stone rising from the shore, an ancient seal etched with symbols that matched those from the hollow tree. A voice echoed across the water, cold, cruel. "You come too late, little one." The shadow of the sorcerer emerged from the lake's center, his form flickering like smoke. "This forest belongs to silence now." Goldilocks stood her ground. "Not while I'm still breathing." The sorcerer laughed, sending ripples through the lake. "You? A child with toys?" But Goldilocks remembered the words of the bears. She reached into her pouch, pulled out the glowing dust, and tossed it into the air. The dust danced like stars, forming a barrier of light around her. The compass floated upward, spinning faster and faster, then shot into the lake like a comet. A tremor shook the earth. From beneath the dark waters, something stirred. The sorcerer screamed, "No!" The lake split open with a beam of golden light as the Everstar rose from its prison, pulsing with warmth, color, and life. The shadows recoiled, trees bloomed, flowers awakened, birds sang. The sorcerer's form crumbled into ash, swallowed by the returning magic. The bears appeared at Goldilocks' side, their eyes shining. "You've done what no guardian could. You awakened the heart of the forest." The Everstar floated to her hands, shrinking into a pendant. "It chose you," said the silver bear. With the forest restored, Goldilocks smiled, no longer just a curious girl, but the keeper of light. From that day forward, legends spoke not only of 3 magical bears and an enchanted cottage, but of a brave girl with golden hair who followed a whisper, faced her own shadow, and brought light back to a forgotten world.